Here's what's happening. The sun's surface erupted early Sunday morning, blasting tons of plasma into interplanetary space directly towards us. Something we've been talking about for years. The wall of ionized atoms could hit the planet, they say, as possibly as later today, creating a geomagnetic storm and a spectacular light show and possibly threatening satellites in orbit. The solar eruption, called the coronal mass ejection, was spotted by NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory, which captures high-definition views of the sun at a variety of wavelengths. In a moment, Mitch Battros joins us to talk about that. And welcome back to Coast. I'm George Norrie. Mitch Battros, he heads up earthchangesmedia.com. Of course, his website is one of the forefront websites for getting information on just what the heck is going on this planet. Here he is, back on Coast to Coast. Hey, Mitch, welcome back.
Hi, George. Great to be back with you.
Likewise. Okay, what's the situation on this sunburst? I've heard two different stories, that it's going to hit us, that it could hit us, that it might not hit us. What's going on?
Well, it already has hit us, and it's going to hit us again. But it's not as strong as, the news is really hitting it hard. I guess because Cycle 24 has been so quiet for such a long time. But here's the news. It's the story between the story, and actually we spoke about this on your show. There's a lot of people who have expectations that solar cycle 24 is going to be a dud. Others have already predicted it to be as much as 50% stronger than cycle 23. In cycle 23, we saw a record-breaking solar event. But this is how I think it's going to happen, just like what happened this weekend. Instead of the series of X-class flares, very large ones, even M-class, we had two M-class flares so far. And the apex, the maximum, is coming up at the top of the bell curve, if you will, in 2012. But what will happen is in line with what happened this weekend, and this is the case. It was a smaller C-class flare, nothing that really would grab anybody's attention. So it caught everybody by surprise. What occurred was a C-class flare just happened to hit at the same time a coronal hole was expanding. It's this magnetic field, if you will, and it's like a cloud. And so from time to time, it's not unknown, matter of fact, it's pretty common, a magnetic filament occurs. Well, you couple that with the C-class flare. What happened is that it was that timing and interaction that created a coronal mass ejection. Rarely, if ever, would you see a coronal mass ejection coming from a C-class flare. That's what makes this so unique and really caught everybody off guard. The combination of the two really put a powerful punch, and it is Earth-directed, and the International Space Station they have gone to their hiding place.
The safe haven.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a safe room in the space station, just like there is in the shuttle. So they've taken cover. There is a watch for, and I haven't seen anything as of now of damage to satellites. The Space Weather Center, along with the U.S. Air Force, work very close together, and I've not seen any reports of damage at this point. But those are the things that would happen. I do expect to see some very unusual weather patterns happening as a result. Northern Europe did experience some fascinating skies, some aurora borealis. Beautiful. I have a picture of it on the Earth Changes Media website. Now, that is a visual of what happens when charged particles hits our magnetic field. Our magnetic field then warps around the Earth, kind of like a cocoon, to protect us. Right now, the Earth's magnetic field has been pretty weak and spotty, and that's why there's a heightened concern of what may occur with these bombardment of these charged particles. So that, putting all that package together, is what makes this very exciting. I would give the analogy of...
Exciting or scary, Mitch?
Well, both. The more you know, George, the more informed you are about what it is and how it works, the less frightening it is. But that goes for pretty much anything. The more knowledge you have, the less fearful it is. I don't see this as being anything frightening. It was kind of unexpected, but I don't see anything big happening from this. I do expect a very similar pattern that we just saw to occur within the next several months in 2011, except on a much larger scale. Now we're talking not a C-class flare, we're talking an X-class flare. We're talking about magnetic filaments, and we're talking about a pretty strong coronal mass ejection. That coupled with it being Earth-directed and a weakening spotty magnetic field, and now we're talking about Mayan prophecy.
Well, we sure are. Now, what happens to us had that been an X flare, not a C?
What would happen if it was an X flare?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a large range of X flares. X is the largest of the solar flares. There's basically three classifications. A C class, which is the smallest, an M class, which is moderate to high, and an X class. And then there's a subcategory from an X1 to now an X45. I just happened to be in interview live with the director of the Space Weather Center when the 2003, what's now known as the Halloween event, that was November 4th, it literally pegged their instruments. It was off the charts. At the time, it only went to X10. They had to recalibrate all their instruments, and now it goes up to like X70.
Wow.
But before that, no one had ever seen such a large solar flare. So the X-class flare, on an average, would be an X1, which is still very powerful, can be damaging, to one that everybody kind of holds their breath would be like an X10. Now we're talking about satellite busting, the power outage type of event. Along with that, within a 48-hour period, kind of following it like a trail, comes this extreme weather phenomena that almost always occurs either in flatline winds, microbursts. It could come in the way of a drought or sudden rainfall, but it's always extreme and usually damaging, and it depends on the time of the year, whether it be in northern or southern hemisphere, of what will simply magnify the current pattern of events. For example, it's hurricane season. So in the northern hemisphere, as even the smaller one hits, and it's already hit, and then just behind it, the 24 hours behind it, comes
another wave. Huh?
Another wave. Now that could spark up, I'm expecting it to, some of these tropical storms that are out there now. There's a good chance that they'll escalate as a result.